Hey guys, I'm Brent Grenna, founder and CEO of Evertrue, which is a Boston-based company focused on the higher education advancement space. And that was me growing up in Iowa with the 3 best pigs in all of Winneshiek County. And I show this slide because at this time in my life, one of my goals was to be the first member of my family to go to college. I was really fortunate to get recruited by Brown University to play football. I showed up as the 8th string fullback my freshman year, which isn't what they told me on my recruiting trip, but I stuck it out and ended up being captain of the team my senior year. And in doing that, got great access to a couple of alumni mentors who took me under their wing and helped me get my first job in the investment banking field at William Blair & Company in Chicago. Got very involved as a local alumni volunteer for the Brown Club, ended up joining Madison Dearborn Partners working in private equity. And from there applied to Harvard Business School, where I started in the fall of 2008. And so I'd had this really great journey of just wanting to go to college, getting philanthropic aid, and then being supported by mentors, which led to some really neat career opportunities. And so when I arrived at Harvard, somebody from Brown reached back out and they said, hey, you were a great volunteer in Chicago. We know you love the school. Would you be willing to help lead your reunion fundraising campaign? And I said, sure. And they sent me this, which was a spreadsheet of my classmates. And I got the spreadsheet, and right away I realized that most of the information was out of date. And I called the school and I told them that. And they said, no kidding, please update the spreadsheet as you reach out to your classmates, send it back to us, and we'll put it back into our database. I said, that's how Brown University is keeping track of people? That seems crazy. So I did it. I went to reunion, had a good time, but came back and just did some research my second year of school to learn more about this business of fundraising. And what I found at Brown and almost every other college is that it was just legacy in every manner. They had legacy technology. The screen in the upper left is literally what thousands of fundraisers look at every single day. They take that inaccurate information, feed it over to phone-a-thon callers who call you at night when you're having dinner with your family. You all know the area code. And then they spend a ton of money on direct mail. And if they do get you to give, it's like you have to give your whole life story in order to transact, as opposed to actually making it easy to have an e-commerce experience. And so after all of that, I looked around and I just saw so much change happening in other sectors. If you think about the real estate space, if any of you bought a house in the 90s, I don't know how you did it. If any of you have bought a house recently, you know, some of you have probably been researching houses today. Even while we've been at the conference, how we used to order pizzas versus how we do it now. At my house, we've got a couple of kids and a ton of flannel, and we get these updates from daycare at the end of every day of who my kids bit and if they slept and that sort of thing. And at the beginning of this year, we started getting all of that pushed to our phone via an app. So literally every time my son's diaper is changed, I was getting a notification, which I had to unsubscribe from. But it's reflective of the change happening in all other parts of our lives, yet major gift officers who are raising $50 billion a year to help kids like me go to college are walking around with stacks of outdated spreadsheets and PDF documents. And so Evertrue is introducing Advancement 2.0. There's an opportunity to connect the dots between traditional systems like Blackbaud and Ellucian and modernize it by connecting the dots with platforms like Facebook, LinkedIn, and where many of my classmates are actually living their lives. And so with all of that, we've grown to over 300 higher ed partners. We work with over 50 of the top 100 national U.S. news universities. We're supported by University Ventures and Bain Capital to drive innovation into this part of the vertical that just hasn't had much activity. Our NPS is at 63. We have tremendous referenceability. Fundraisers know other fundraisers. They're not competing with one another, so there's really a lot of sharing and best practices that we've benefited greatly from a referral perspective. There's a lot of activity as schools realize that those outdated databases aren't going to be their future, and so they're trying to assemble a modern technology stack to run their advancement shops more like sales and marketing businesses. And so our system allows gift officers a Zillow-like experience to make it as easy to identify prospective donors in San Diego as it might be to find a house in San Diego, integrating deeply communications channels like Facebook that just hadn't been tracked before. There's so much activity around that. More broadly, it's been in the headlines recently, and so if every brand on the planet can use Facebook to target folks to buy stuff, why can't we use it the same way as it relates to supporting philanthropy, making e-commerce actually feel like e-commerce in the context of higher ed. We're introducing a volunteer management program with Dartmouth College and Notre Dame to really eliminate those spreadsheets that I received and the Google Docs that have taken their place, and then continue to innovate around the major gift space and the measurement space. We're in the $6.5 million ARR level, growing to $9 million, and are in a very low burn situation, but anticipate achieving cash break even later this year. So that's the quick overview on Evertrue. I've got about 90 seconds, and I would just say if any of you are involved with your colleges or have volunteered for your own kids' schools and so forth, please shoot me a note at brent@evertrue.com, and would welcome any referrals. Any questions? Okay, cheers, thank you.